London is one of the most visited cities in the world, but it comes with its own set of unwritten rules and quirks. Today we're sharing 12 things that will confuse you about London until you know the rules.
Welcome to the UK Travel Planning Podcast. Your host is the founder of the UK Travel Planning website, Tracy Collins. Each week, Tracy shares destination guides, travel tips and itinerary ideas, as well as interviews with a variety of guests who share their knowledge and experience of UK travel to help you plan your perfect UK vacation. Join us as we explore the UK from cosmopolitan cities to quaint villages, from historic castles to beautiful islands, and from the picturesque countryside to seaside towns.
Before we get started, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Walks and Devour Tours. If you're planning a trip to London, you'll already know the challenge. There's a lot you want to do and only a limited amount of time to fit it all in. That's where the right tour makes all the difference, because you want experiences that are the best use of your time, with more access, less waiting and a deeper sense of the city. That's why we recommend Walks and Devour Tours. They offer walking tours and food tours designed to make your time count, often with early or after hours entry. You'll also be with exceptional local guides who add the stories and context, so you leave with a richer understanding of what you're seeing and a trip that feels genuinely memorable. If you're visiting London as a couple, with family, or you simply prefer a more intimate experience, Walks and Devour Tours also offer private tour options. To learn more, you'll find the link in the show notes. Now let's get into this week's episode. Hi everybody and welcome to this week's episode of the UK Travel Planning Podcast. I'm your host Tracy Collins, and this week I have Doug again sitting next to me.
Hello.
Now Doug has actually flown into the UK.
Yeah, I'm back here.
And you arrived on Monday morning, didn't you?
Monday morning, 04:30.
Heathrow.
At Heathrow,
Yeah.
yes.
It was quite a long flight. Now, we do get asked quite often about this, especially for those listeners and those of you who are living in Australia, where we spend a lot of our time when we're not in the UK. And you originally had planned to fly from Perth to
Heathrow direct.
Yeah, but that was all changed. So you ended up, it was a bit more of a convoluted route.
Yeah, it was. It was a bit chaotic. We touched down into Singapore for fueling and cleaning the plane, which obviously needed after 5 hours of flight, which is a bit bizarre. It's a bit chaotic and a bit sort of bit hassled, but the actual flight was fine.
Oh, that's
There's
good.
no problem. Yeah.
And then you got in. So I know we both prefer the even though it's a bit of a long haul. That one from Perth, if you're flying direct to Paris or London, it is actually not a bad flight.
No, you sort of get into the zone with it, but it's the fact that it's just one flight and you've not got connecting flights and you've got to rush between terminals or gates.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I thought because we did an episode in actually end of April, episode 198, we were talking about 12 things that will confuse you in the UK until you knew there was, and everybody's loved that episode.
It was a good episode to do as well.
Yeah, it was
Enjoyed
a very fun episode. So if you haven't listened to that one and you're planning to travel outside of London to other places in the UK, would recommend that you do go back and listen to episode 198, and hopefully this one will be just as fun. But this episode we're going to focus on London and things that often people can find a bit confusing or not really what they expected.
That's right.
So hopefully this will be a bit of a bit of a fun but educational episode.
That's right.
That you will all enjoy. So we thought we'd kind of divide it up into different kind of areas. So the first one would talk about things about getting around London that people find confusing, because obviously you arrive and you want to get. You're going to want to get from A to B.
Well, certainly. Unless you're planning on spending your entire holiday at Heathrow Air Terminal 4, 5.
Probably not. Okay, so should we talk about the tube? Because most of you are going to be using the tube.
Yeah, at some point,
in the time in London. Well, I would imagine so. Unless you're my mum, who prefers to do everything by black cab.
Oh, right.
She prefers to do that rather than the tube these days. But, so one of the images that you have when you think about the tube is probably going to be the classic tube map.
That's right. It is sort of iconic, isn't it, really?
It really is. And I think the thing to know about the tube map, which is very colourful, which is very useful because the different colours represent different lines. That's a useful thing to know. That actually the tube map itself, what you look at, the distances in geography actually bear pretty no resemblance, just a pretty minimal resemblance to actual reality of the geography of London.
It's purely a representation in a diagram form.
Yeah, so it was actually designed for to be just for clarity.
Yeah.
So what can look like quite a distance on a tube map can actually be easier to actually walk it.
That's right.
And the obvious one to talk about this all the time is actually Covent Garden.
I knew you were going to say Covent Garden.
I think, you know what, I reckon I've talked about this in other episodes. So I'm sure if you've listened to the podcast, this is a classic one that I'll talk about. I mean, I don't particularly like Covent Garden tube station because it's a lift up and it's quite, if the lift's not working, which to be honest, I've never been on it when it hasn't, but it's a lot of steps. I've heard of people walking it. I don't know why you do that. But otherwise, just you're in a lift and it can get very busy, very busy tube station, but you can get off at Leicester Square and it's not going to take you more than a couple of minutes to do that walk.
No, if it's pouring down with rain, you might get wet, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think I've actually seen it where people have timed it. We should do that in London. We should actually have one where you can start. We'll both start at Covent Garden tube station.
Yeah.
I'll walk to Leicester Square tube station, and you take the tube and see who gets there first.
Oh, okay.
Should we do that dare? If you want us to do that, let us know, and we'll do that when we go to London. That would be quite a cute one to share. But it's always worth checking. So I mean, the TfL Go app.
Yeah, it's a pretty good app, that is, actually.
Yeah, so when you're planning your journeys, it's just to check that and don't assume that, getting the tube is going to be the quickest way to get from A to B because it isn't necessarily true. I want to talk a little bit about zones as well because you might see on the map there's like the zones, and the zones really relate to how the amount of you get charged for traveling in that zone.
Maximum charges, there's capping, so it's like a concentric circle. So zones 1, 2 in the centre, then you work your way out. So for example, Heathrow Airport's in zone 6.
Yeah, and most of the things that you probably will see in London are in zone 1.
Yeah.
So I actually have got an article on the londontravelplanning.com website which explains about zones. Actually, it's done really well, that article, actually. It's very popular. So it might be worth having a look if it's something you're interested in finding out about. But basically, the daily cap is once you've done a certain amount of journeys, you won't get charged more.
Any more for that day.
Quick mention about Oyster cards and or contactless, which you can use either.
This is always a topic, isn't it?
It is, and it's really we're very much of a mindset when we offer any advice that we're offering advice that we're not dictating what you should or shouldn't do.
Not, yeah.
So we have got articles about contactless versus Oyster card. So really read up about it. It's such a strong emotive subject, but honestly, there's no right or wrong with this. You read what works. You read about Oyster card. You read about contactless, and you decide what works for you. I've just been travelling around London with my friend Melissa, who's been over from Pittsburgh, and she used contactless. I use my Oyster card again. Yeah. Perfectly, whatever works for you. That's the thing to do.
I prefer Oyster card, and I'm a bit of a traditionalist, but I've used it for years, and it's just my preference. That's not to say I have not used contactless at some point, but 90% of the time, probably more than 90%, I stick with my Oyster card.
Yeah, but again, it's your choice. So that's one thing we'll talk about. So second thing I want to talk about is basically unwritten rules of the tube. And you know what? We have a lot of unwritten rules in the UK. We just have.
Yeah.
We've talked about queuing. I know we talked about queuing in the UK one. That's kind of unwritten rule that you just know. It's like, I think we're just born with the knowledge that you need to queue.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's an instinct thing. But trust me, if these unwritten rules, if you might have got it wrong, just look at other people's facial expressions.
You'll soon know.
You'll soon realise that you may have dropped a bit of a clanger. Yeah.
Well, I think the one thing I really want to talk about in terms of unwritten rules about the tube is, and actually this one I hear all the time at the tube stations, is let people off the train before you get on. This has and I've turned into a grumpy old woman. Do not say anything, Doug, because I know you're going to say I was anyway. I have turned into a grumpy old woman when I'm in London because I am absolutely fed up, and I'm not joking, fed up of standing waiting for people to get off the tube.
Politely
Waiting because that's what we're supposed to do. And the amount of people that are pushing on to get onto the train before people get off. Yeah. In fact, I was last week. There was a little boy. I think he was Spanish, and he was his mum was saying to him to get back, and he was absolutely determined he was getting on that train to get a seat. So he pushed his way on, and made sure he got a seat on a very crowded train. Took no notice of his mum whatsoever, and I just see this all the time. There's just people pushing and
it's
pushing.
Not just London,
and pushing.
to be fair, either.
No, it isn't. But I've noticed it a lot in London because especially when it's busy and you're trying to get, it's a busy train, but if it's a full tube train and it pulls up, but like a main station like Victoria, or people are going to get off it. A lot of people are going to get off.
Are going to get off. Yeah.
And if everybody's standing there desperate to get on, it just slows the whole process up.
That's right.
So it's very unpleasant, and I've been a bit cross about it. I really have been a bit of a grump about that. Yeah. The other thing as well is people don't talk loudly or make eye contact on the tube. They just don't.
No, they don't. It's your own space, your own bubble, and that's where people stick to.
Just a quick pause to thank our sponsor, Walks and Devour Tours. If you're planning a trip to London, you'll already know the challenge. There's a lot you want to do and only a limited amount of time to fit it all in. That's where the right tour makes all the difference, because you want experiences that are the best use of your time, with more access, less waiting, and a deeper sense of the city. That's why we recommend Walks and Devour Tours. They offer walking tours and food tours designed to make your time count, often with early or after hours entry. You'll also be with exceptional local guides who add the stories and context, so you leave with a richer understanding of what you're seeing and a trip that feels genuinely memorable. If you're visiting London as a couple, with family, or you simply prefer a more intimate experience, Walks and Devour Tours also offer private tour options. To learn more, you'll find the link in the show notes. Yeah, you just don't hear loud conversations. You don't, people, I
think it's more noticeable at sort of peak times as well. People going to or from work. I think it's more noticeable. People want their own space.
Yeah, you see a lot of people on the phones, a lot of people reading a book, a lot of people looking down. It's just, it's not a social space.
No, it's not social.
It really isn't. No. The other one I want to talk about is escalators. I do sound like grumpy.
You do, to be fair. You do. Yeah.
Escalators. Please stand on the right and use the escalator to walk up and down on the left. This will annoy everybody in London if you don't do this. And actually, I was on tube the other day, and I'm guessing a new visitor, and didn't take any notice of the sign and stood on the left. So there was all of us on the right. There's one person on the left. And eventually, I thought, she's going to get asked to move. And she did, because there was people trying to run up and she was in the way. And I think she realised at one point, actually, I'm standing in the wrong place. Yeah.
And I'm going to say this, that stand on the right is for your own safety as well, because particularly, again, during rush hours, is some of these people move on the left-hand side. They're going up and down these escalators fast.
Yeah, they are.
So, you keep right for your own benefit. And I mean, keep in, not just stand on the right, but keep in, because if you get clipped, it's quite easily happen. And if you're travelling with any small people, and I say small people, I mean children. Sorry. But if you're travelling with children or anybody who's not 100% steady on their feet, it's important that you
keep them in.
Keep in.
Definitely keep on your side of the escalator, and be careful with bags again, because I've people often, if you've got a backpack on or something, can get caught.
Yeah,
people are going down that, basically it's so you just have to.
But if you're standing there and you see somebody walking or running past you fast, you'll see exactly what I mean.
Yeah, and some of these escalators are really long.
They are long. They are long.
So you just have to be careful. Yeah. The other one is mind the gap, which you'll hear that said.
You hear that often to the point, you'll hear it so often that you don't always consciously listen to it, because it's just something that's said a lot. But it's worth being mindful of, because it's a genuine thing on platforms that are curved, and you've obviously got a carriage length or coach length. There's going to be gaps appearing.
Yeah, so you have to be. You do have to be careful.
You have to be
Absolutely.
Careful. Yeah.
And I know you've shown some video of that, actually.
I did. I pointed out not on the underground, but on mainline stations like Birmingham New Street, for example, on curves. And there can be some substantial gaps there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's just a couple of points I wanted to mention about transport. We do have podcasts about getting around London, and we've also got articles on the londontravelplanning.com website about all the methods of transportation in London, and we are planning to get more on our YouTube channel as well, UK Travel Planning. So if you want to read about it, you can have a look on the website. If you want to watch videos about getting around London, do check out our UK Travel Planning YouTube channel as well.
Yes.
Now, third thing I thought we'd talk about is attraction. So this is a theme, actually. So there'll be a few things to talk about when it comes to attractions. So things that you want to go and do and see in London.
Yeah.
And this is one, I love talking about this because this is one when I was a kid I completely got confused about. And that is the difference between Tower Bridge and London Bridge. In fact, sometimes I have to think to myself, Tower of London, Tower Bridge.
Yeah.
Tower of London, Tower Bridge. Because Tower Bridge and London Bridge are not the same thing. We see this a lot, actually, the Facebook group, don't we? People get confused.
Yeah, in Australia, I hear this a lot, and people talk about, going back to the UK and me travelling there and trains, and even just talking to them, it's obvious that they're getting confused.
Yeah, London Bridge, Tower Bridge.
Yeah.
So Tower Bridge is the iconic one. It's the one with the drawbridge, the one that you see in every postcard. It's that iconic picture of London, that iconic bridge over the Thames. Whereas London Bridge is fairly boring. It's pretty...
I was just going to say pretty much run-of-the-mill. I wasn't going to say boring, but...
Well, it's a bit underwhelming. It's just an ordinary bridge.
It is a bit underwhelming, to be fair.
And actually, it's fairly new anyway, because the original London Bridge was sold to an American guy in 1968 who apparently he thought he was buying Tower Bridge, but actually bought London Bridge. I have got some photos, some really interesting photos, actually, of London Bridge in the 1800s.
Really? Were you
Yeah.
there?
No, I was not there, you cheeky person. But I have got some. I might share some of those black and white pictures of just how much traffic used to go over, carriages and people used to walk over the old London Bridge. So London Bridge is not pretty. It's just a regular bridge. Tower Bridge is the one that you want to go and visit. Tower Bridge, I have done a tour on Tower Bridge, which is really good. I've actually walked across it and stood on the glass. Yeah. There's a glass floor walkway, so you can walk across that if you're not worried about heights. You can walk over it, and you basically sometimes stand on the London buses underneath you. It's quite funny. So that is actually worth doing. And obviously, if you go to Tower of London, you can walk across Tower Bridge. Yes. You can get some beautiful photographs on the other side.
Yes.
At Shad Thames.
Yeah, it's right. It's great points. You look across there. You see a lot of photographers taking sort of portrait photos there.
Yeah. So that's a good little bit of a tip from us. So go and get your photos there if you want pictures of Tower Bridge. But just be mindful if you're talking about London Bridge and somebody's looking at you quizzically, because probably they're thinking you're not getting the right one. But seriously, it's I used to make this mistake when I was a kid, honestly. So just think Tower of London, Tower Bridge. That's the best way to think about it. Because
I'm thinking of the song "London Bridge is Falling Down."
Yeah. The is it Nursery Rhyme?
It's a nursery rhyme, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, another one I want to talk about attractions is that last entry is not closing time, right? So if you're thinking about, you're planning your day and you're thinking, so Tower of London closes at 5 p.m. Oh, I'll get there at 4:30 and just do a quick squeeze of it in and just quick have a look around. Yeah, you actually need to check not the closing time, but the last entry.
Last entry.
Because a lot of places will have a last entry time. Yeah. So they won't let you in after that point. So they'll probably thinking, well, you're going to need at least an hour and a half to go and have a look around some of these, fantastic attractions that we have in London. So therefore, they will not let you in after a certain time. Yeah. So, and we know quite often I look at people's itineraries and they're trying to squeeze in so much.
Which we understand.
Yeah, we understand it. I can be guilty of it too. And sometimes, you forget as well just how, I have to say, this trip I've realised just how tiring London can be.
It's because you're old.
I'm not old.
No.
I'm older.
But
I'm not old. But I've found that I can't quite do the 25,000 steps a day for a week. Yeah. So therefore, again, which is why we say really if you're going to do just do maximum of 2 major attractions in London in a day.
It makes sense.
So, for example, Tower of London, the last entry is 1 hour before closing. And I would always check the attraction to make sure that what the last entry time is, because sometimes it can be significantly earlier than when they actually close.
That's right. That's true.
So that's an important thing.
Particularly the bigger places.
Yeah, and you don't want to end up going somewhere, and even if you go in, if it's the last entry, you're still going to have minimum time there, really.
Yeah,
an hour is not going to be much for the Tower of London.
And some of these attractions you're paying, good money for as well. So
Yes.
you want to be getting value for money, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So start with those major attractions that you want to go to and
Yeah.
make sure you spread them out and give yourself plenty of time to get there.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
yeah,
And
don't.
don't forget your million photos and videos we all have to do these days. So, you need time for those.
Absolutely, absolutely. Other one I want to talk about is changing of the guard.
Oh, yes. One of the best, one of the favourites.
Oh, yeah, it's really interesting because it's, even again, the first time I ever went to London when I was a kid, I went with actually my dad for the first time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that you want to see.
Yeah.
It's Brits I want to go and see.
I was just going to say, it's not just overseas visitors that want to see this sort of thing.
No, we want to see it. And I
yeah.
remember going to see the changing of the guard. Now, one thing to do is to check, because it's not necessarily on every single day of the week. It does change in the summer months in that it is more regular, but things can change. So, for example, if it's bad weather, or there's a state event that happens to have come up, or something's just, your schedule can change, and it does change anyway by season. So the best thing to do is to have a look on the official website. Now, I have got an article about the changing of the guard. I will link to that. Again, that has a link into the official website where you can find out. You can also find out who is involved with the changing of the guard.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is really, really good. Now, I would say, again, for changing the guard, you need, and that article gives you loads of tips, but arriving early is really important.
That's right.
It gets so crowded.
It does.
Really, really crowded.
Because it's so popular.
Yeah, there are a few places where you can stand, you can watch it. I would recommend, honestly, to do this is best with a tour. And Robin, you went out with Robin's fantastic walks.
I did.
And his tour of the changing of the guard, and thoroughly enjoyed it.
It is, because part of what Robin's walk is, he gives you those little tips as to where to stand or where not to stand, whichever way you want to look at it, and where the best points are to just catch that good photo and that good video. We were right at the front because he had his own good time, and just as coming out of the barracks, it's absolutely perfect. Yeah,
absolutely. And also, I recently did a small tour with Walks and Devour, which started with the changing of the guard, which was absolutely fantastic. In fact, they do one changing of the guard with Westminster Abbey, and the one I did was changing of the guard, and then walking through and along through Hyde Park, and then to Kensington Palace, and then afternoon tea at the Orangery, which we're going to talk a little bit more about afternoon tea. Yeah. So that's a really good one as well. So you've got choices there. You've got obviously the smaller private tours with Walks and Dover, or the small group tours that Walks and Dover do too. And then Robin does a specific it's a larger group walk and tour as well.
Yeah.
So it depends what you want, but I would recommend probably doing a walk and tour, because you should learn about what's happening.
Well, just going to say that Robin on the fantastic walks, he's not to mention a great character and makes it's a lot of fun, but he's incredibly knowledgeable and shared lots of facts and figures and information and.
Yeah. So because I think
engaging.
if you don't do a tour, if you just kind of turn up, it can be a bit confusing. You're not necessarily sure of what you're seeing. You get to experience the pomp and ceremony of it, but you can't. You probably just can tick it off and say I've been, but you probably won't be able to talk much more about.
Oh, it's a good
the
memory making
significance of it.
opportunity. It really is.
Yeah, so it's really important. So also things to consider when we're talking about attractions and things that you're only going to find in London is the Beefeaters at the Tower of London.
Yeah, they are. It's an interesting name, isn't it? I'm not sure what, because we're English and we grew up knowing who they are, but I wonder how people from overseas, or their thought processes when they hear the word Beefeater.
Yeah, well, I did a bit of research into this, and apparently, there's no kind of definitive, conclusion or agreement on why they're called Beefeaters, but whether they were actually paid in beef. And then that's what they paid at meat. I don't know, but basically, so this is tip number 6. Only in London you're going to find the Beefeaters, or otherwise known as Yeoman Warders, who live in the Tower of London. And a lot of people don't know that actually that's where they live.
That's right next door to the Ravens. No, I don't know that bit. No, I made that up.
Well, there is a raven. One of the Yeoman Warders is a raven. He's a raven master.
Yeah,
master. I'm going to tell me off for saying master because of my accent.
Yeah,
master.
Yes.
Anyways, who's in charge of the ravens? But so basically, the Yeoman Warders or Beefeaters live when they are a Yeoman Warder. That's where they have to live. So their accommodation comes with that job.
Yeah.
I think there's about 40 odd of them now who do that, including I think 3 or 4 women Yeoman Warders now.
Yep.
But what I've really enjoyed, and this is, we've done a few tours now with Walks and Devout in the Tower of London, and the VIP closing ceremony. I talk about this all the time, I know, but that's what I loved about that, because you get to spend some quality time with a Yeoman Warder, and you can ask them questions.
They're not tour guides. They have been serving members of the British forces.
Yeah, and so it's a bit of a process to become a Yeoman Warder. So not only do they have to go through the interview process and then get offered the place to be a Yeoman Warder, but actually when I was talking to one of the women, newest women Yeoman Warders, maybe a couple of years ago, and she was still on that 6-month period where they have to learn, and they get tested on all the history. So the amount of knowledge, so that you should be able to ask them anything really about the Tower of London, they should be able to answer it, because they've got to learn all this history. And they're generally very approachable, so you can go and ask them questions. But the nice thing about that VIP tour is you kind of get the Yeoman Warder to yourself, and you can ask them anything. And so, there's a pub. Did you know there was a pub in the Tower of London? Yes. So they've got a pub there. They move in with their families. So if they've got kids, the kids also move in. And actually one of the Yeoman Warders telling us is they have a different password every night. So they've got to make sure that or maybe it's every week, that their kids know the password. So if they go out, as obviously as they get older and teenagers and they want to go out and about in London, is that after a certain point it closes. I mean, we've been there, so in that closing ceremony. They have to know what the password is, otherwise they won't get allowed in.
I know.
They won't get allowed back home.
No.
So it's really interesting. They have pets, because I know the last time we were talking to the Yeoman, I think it was Matt that we had, was talking about one of the a kitten that had a new kitten, and it got locked in one of the towers. And so it made a bit of a story in the newspapers, didn't it? This cat. And also, if you look over some of the walls, like round the Tower of London, so it's still inside the Tower of London, you'll see they've got little gardens.
Yeah, that's right.
You can see washing hanging out sometimes.
Well, gonna need it.
So I'm going to ask you this, Doug. Would you, I know you couldn't qualify because you haven't been a member of the serving forces in the UK, but would you want to live in the Tower of London?
Probably not, no.
Why would you not want to?
Might be a bit spooky.
That's exactly the reason I wouldn't want to. So, because they tell you all the ghost stories, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think I want to live somewhere where so many people have had their head chopped off.
That's true.
So, but anyway, if you want to find out more about the Beefeaters, aka the Yeoman Warders, I'd highly recommend booking that VIP closing ceremony of the Tower of London.
That's a good tip, that is.
Walks and Devout, because it's
to get
really
the most of that Tower of London.
But I kind of want to share that, because if you go in the Tower of London, you're going to get a free, it's about 25 minute tour from a Beefeater. Now, if you're nosy like me, who likes to know about people and how they live and how they ended up in the circumstances they're in and what's good about it and what's, all the inside gossip, then the VIP tour is the way to get that.
I will point out as well, the Beefeaters, they're all very charismatic.
Yeah, they've all got very, very good, different personalities, though, I have to say. But really good. I'm interested. We haven't so far, when we've done the VIP tour, had the Raven Master. I know people have that have been on it, and I've loved the Beefeaters we've had. I think we've done the tour 2 or 3 times now. But I really would like to go on it with the Raven Master, because I love those ravens. I'd like to know a little bit more about them. Right, tip number 7, or something that you won't know, that you probably will be planning to do when you're in London, is to get a photo with a red phone booth. Now, those red phone boxes are so iconic. You think about them when you think about the UK. You think about them in London. There's obviously places you can stand, like Parliament Square, where you've got the phone box and then you've got Big Ben or the Elizabeth Tower in the background, and everybody wants to have the photograph there. So, and I actually have got an article on the londontravelplanning.com website which tells you where all the best places are to get with a red phone box to have your photo taken. But there was one thing that we did want to talk about, just a tip really, is have the photo taken from the outside, don't open it. Well, there's a reason I said why we're saying not necessary to open the door of it.
There might be a bit niffy on the inside.
Because unfortunately, they sometimes get used as toilets.
Yes.
And actually, we were having a photo shoot at the Tower of London a few years ago, and what happened?
We wanted to go inside.
No, but a guy had actually done a wee.
He had. not on camera with us.
No.
We wanted to go on the inside, and we're there, big smiles, big smiles, big smiles. Open the door. We didn't have a big smile then.
No.
No, we didn't.
So just be conscious of that. That really have the photo, at the phone booth and the outside of it. If you want to have the photograph on the inside, open it and just check.
Gently open it.
Yeah, gently open and check, because unfortunately
and hold your breath.
That is generally, well, not generally, but they can be used
happen.
as a toilet, unfortunately.
Yeah, sadly, but true. Yeah.
So just check. Also, what's quite interesting, I will mention, is that some of the red phone booths are used for different things. So you might find a defibrillator inside.
That's right.
Some have got little libraries inside.
That's right, little books.
Yeah,
that's right.
More so outside of London, you'll find that.
Yeah.
But I did want to mention that, so if you're outside of London, travelling around, and check out, because you won't find phones, except there is a working phone at one of the ones on Parliament Square, because we've been on a tour and somebody phoned it.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
yeah, and it was answered. I think that was quite funny. In fact, I think it was a tour guide that phoned it.
I think it probably was, actually. Yeah.
But yeah, so just a couple of things. So make sure you get your photos taken. Check out my article on London for the best places to get the best pictures with the red phone booths. Right. But just be wary about opening it and standing inside it to have a photo taken.
If you really look, you've got a phone box and a post box side by side as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think I've got one of those actually in Stratford rather than London.
That's right.
Yeah, I've got that. So point number 8 I want to talk is a little bit about black cab drivers and the knowledge. Now, if you've listened to any of the episodes with Ollie from Discover Real London, you probably know a little bit more, or a little bit already about the knowledge. But basically, it's that London black cab drivers aren't like taxi drivers anywhere else in the world, because to get their license as a black cab driver, they've got to pass something called the knowledge. Now, that is a test that requires them to memorise every single street, landmark, hotel, restaurant and point of interest within a 6-mile radius of Charing Cross, which is centre of London. Without no GPS, no Google Maps, nothing. They have to memorise it. And it takes them an average of 3 to 4 years to pass it. So, and people say, the black London cab drivers, they're a bit more expensive. But honestly, they're just for what they've done to pass it. And also, being in a black London cab is an experience.
It's another iconic moment. Yeah.
Really, you should do it. And
hail one as well.
Yes, well, I was going to say that actually, because yes, you can get car share riding apps. So there's Uber in London. It's back in London, so you can get Uber, and you can call them on your phone. Those you call on your phone, but actually you hail a London black cab. So you have to, if the light is on and you put your hand up, as long as you're in a safe place for it to pull over, and then the black cab will pull over and you get in. Now, if you want to have a little bit of an inspection of a black cab, see what it looks like, I have got a video with Ollie from Discover Real London, who shows us around it. In fact, it's one of my most popular little short videos on YouTube, showing it around a black London cab, and how much room there is in one, how many people you can fit in it, your luggage, where it goes. So it's really good. And also you can get stories from them as well about who famous people have picked up. Yeah,
they're usually quite chatty, to be fair.
Yeah. So I think if you want to have an experience in a black London cab, which I honestly would recommend you do, definitely have a listen to Ollie's episodes about Discover Real London, because it's basically they are black cab drivers who will take you on a tour of London. So very popular is the touchdown tour, where they pick you up at Heathrow, take you into London, show you a lot of the main sites, so orientate you into London itself. And then they've got other theme tours, and they've got a Ted Lasso tour. They've got Discover London tour. They've got a one for people who've been previously want to do a bit of more of the kind of like unknown stuff.
And I will also point out they can actually drive some places that a ride share cannot go.
Oh yeah, well they can drive in the bus lanes, so they can get around London far faster. They can park out. I've still my favourite picture in London is a picture of me standing out, talking about red phone boxes actually, standing next to Ollie's black cab, next to a red phone box with Westminster Abbey in the background. Nobody else can park there.
No.
But a black cab can park there, and you can get these iconic photos. Honestly, if you're in part of our Facebook group, you probably already know about Ollie and Discover Real London, because everybody that does it absolutely raves about it. Absolutely raves about it. But we just wanted to kind of just give you a little bit of an idea of why black cabs are so special. Again, I've actually got an article on the londontravelplanning.com website. And I will just say I really, really, really appreciate if you're listening to this to do check out our website. Because obviously there's been lots of changes with Google and AI and things recently. And actually people aren't looking, or can't find our website anymore, which is really sad. And I just think we've spent so much time, effort and money putting together these wonderful articles, which nobody can find. So if you listen to this article and you think, I want to know a little bit more about transportation in London or the London sites or how to get around, everything is on the londontravelplanning.com website. Next, should we talk about practical things? Just some interesting practical things. So number 9 actually is about afternoon tea.
Afternoon tea.
We're not going to get into, because there's a bit of a discussion that Doug and I were having before we start the podcast about afternoon tea versus high tea. Now, we know in certain countries, aka Australia, yes, I'm pointing a finger at you, all you Aussies included, is that afternoon tea and high tea, that the term is interchangeable. It isn't.
No.
Afternoon tea is different from high tea. I'm not actually going to go into the differences because we're going to do a whole article about afternoon tea at some point to talk about it. But yes, there is a difference between afternoon tea and high tea. So what you'll find in London is afternoon tea. What you'll find actually across the UK is afternoon tea.
Yep.
Now, and that is not a cream tea. That's another one.
That's different again. Yep.
Because cream tea is just scones, cream, jam, and a pot of tea. That's all you get.
Yep.
Afternoon tea is different because you're going to get your like little sandwiches, and savouries. Then you get scones. Then you have cakes and pastries, and obviously you have endless cups of tea.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and that's kind of the order that you eat them in. That's the kind of expectation, and you'll get it on like a 3-tier. Plate system. So what I specifically want to talk about afternoon tea, a couple of things really, because we get asked questions a lot about afternoon tea, and it is something I love doing. Anywhere in the UK, I love afternoon teas. My jeans don't like the fact that I do afternoon teas, so I've just tried them on, they're a little bit tight. There's a few things to know. One is that there are two types generally that you can have. One is the traditional afternoon tea. So that is, general afternoon tea that you assume and that you imagine you expect. The other one, it's actually the same, but it's themed. So they take the traditional afternoon theme idea of the sandwiches and the cake and the scone, but they theme it. Yeah. And so we've been to a couple of themed ones. We went to Peter Pan.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah,
I became a little boy again.
Yeah, really you really enjoyed that one. That was lovely at the Shard. I've done the Alice in Wonderland one, which was really cool. Yeah. Again, everything's kind of themed around. Alice in Wonderland or Peter Pan. So it was we had.
But they're fun. That's the thing. They are fun.
They're fun. Like it's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory one. There's Bridgerton one, Harry Potter one. There's just loads, and there's lots of different like floral ones, seasonal. Yeah.
Also 1940s ones. It's like era ones as well. Come across.
There's just so many. Honestly, so many different afternoon teas. And so the best thing to do is when you think, okay, I want an afternoon tea, is, well, what sort of afternoon tea? Do you want the traditional type, going to the Ritz and having an afternoon tea, or Fortnum & Mason, which I've done again, Fortnum & Mason traditional afternoon tea, or do you want something that's themed around something you love? If you're a Bridgerton fan, maybe go to a Bridgerton afternoon tea. Harry Potter, go to a Harry Potter one. Alice in Wonderland, I was invited to the Alice in Wonderland tea by...
There's a Paddington Bear one as well.
There's a Paddington Bear one, yeah. So, if you want a themed one, which is fun, go and do that. Now, I will say that they've been varying price, but they're not cheap. Generally, they're not cheap.
Yeah.
I was looking the other day, actually, because I'd like to do Fortnum & Mason, and I've done the one before in the Royal Exchange, but I'd like to do the one at Piccadilly Circus, and it's £80 each. Yeah. I did kind of go...
price with the family.
It's expensive, but you know what? It's a lovely experience to have. So choosing that traditional versus your themed, what sort of your budget is. Have a look, because if I start, we've got an article about different themed and traditional afternoon teas. We have got an article. I could probably add another 50 to it.
Yeah,
but I kind of just went for the most popular ones. But other thing to do is you need to book in advance. Absolutely book in advance. Absolutely. Don't assume that you're going to be able to get in for an afternoon tea if you decided going to do it tomorrow. That's not going to happen. Also, another thing to mention is you will be asked about dietary requirements.
Yeah.
Again, in my article, I've tried to put in, gluten-free options, dairy-free options, but really depending on which afternoon tea you plan to do, the best thing to do is to make sure you read all the information on the website.
That's right. Also about any clothing sort of applications as regards
how smart you need to be.
How smart you need to be, really. Yeah.
But to be honest, I think I would say, and I've done quite a few in London. We've done quite a few in London. That they're pretty laid back. Except something like the Ritz wouldn't be. I'm saying that when we did the Peter Pan one, that was pretty smart.
Just no trainers, I think.
Yeah.
No trainers, no shorts or something.
Yeah, I think so. It's just always check the kind of dress requirements, because you may need to think when you're planning your packing before you go, do you need to take something a little bit more special if you're going to go out for that afternoon tea?
True.
But a lot of them are fairly relaxed, isn't there? A lot of tourists do them. But also, I am also going to tackle this as well, because I've seen this in a few Facebook groups where people have been asking about afternoon tea, and then other Brits are going, well, we don't do afternoon tea. It's not something that we do. Actually, I will debunk that myth, because that's rubbish.
It is rubbish.
Because we all love afternoon teas. When my mum turned 80, where did I take her for afternoon tea?
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't know if these people that say that it's not a British thing, we don't do afternoon teas. I totally disagree with you.
No, I do.
You can get in touch with me and speak via SpeakPipe if you want to have that discussion. But afternoon tea is such a thing.
I can honestly say I know lots of people have gone, because I'm not from London, so Tracy's not, but I know a lot of people have gone down to London specifically.
Yeah, have an afternoon tea.
As tourists, and that always includes having an afternoon tea.
Yeah, and I mean, the Ritz is kind of the top of the tree for us, isn't it?
Yeah, not always so you're going to go to that. I
haven't been to the Ritz. I'd love to go to the Ritz. Hi, if anybody at the Ritz would like to invite Doug and I for afternoon tea, please get in touch.
Most definitely.
We'd love to do Ritz afternoon tea.
Yeah, I do like Victoria Sponge, but I'll add that in.
And we're going to we will put together something about just generally about afternoon tea in the UK, because we've tried lots of different ones. Yeah. I don't know if I should tell you this, because you're going to be jealous.
Go on.
When I was in Edinburgh, I did the Queen Charlotte room.
You didn't?
No, I did.
Without me?
I did. But that was great. That was amazing. So, I'm always trying to squeeze in an afternoon tea when I can. Tip number 10, a little bit about Sunday in London, because it can feel different.
That's true.
And it can catch people out, this, actually. I was talking to Melissa, who just gone back to Pittsburgh, that I spent 10 days when she was visiting the UK with, and she'd gone shopping at 11. She'd had to get another suitcase to put all her stuff in.
Yes, she bought lots. And bored on that at some point. Yeah.
And she went to TK Maxx and she was looking around. I think it opened at 11.
TK Maxx is a store.
Yeah, it's in America as well, and it's in Australia. We have it everywhere, I think. Yeah. Anyway, big store. They went in, she went to buy a suitcase, and I think she'd found one, and she went to the till, and they went, no, you can't buy it. And she went, what do you mean you can't buy it? And they were like, well, you can, but you can't buy it until 12. So a lot of the larger stores will open at 11, let you browse. That's what it's for, but you can't actually purchase anything until 12.
Yeah.
Because there is restricted trading hours on Sundays for larger stores.
Yeah.
So that's important to just keep an eye on that. One thing as well, actually, I did a walk from Borough Market with Melissa. We went over to the City of London, and she commented just how quiet it was.
Yeah.
It was complete contrast to Borough Market, which was manic.
Yes. Exactly.
And went over because the City of London is busy in the week when people are going there to work.
I was going to say less traffic is what you're saying.
No, less people. Less everything.
People.
Just less everything. It was really, really quiet because it's an area where people go to work.
Yes, that's right.
And so we were wandering around the City of London, and it was actually really, really quiet compared to a lot of other places
good to
in
know.
London. So that's something.
If you're not a big fan of crowds, it's a good day to travel.
Well, that's what we did because we were at Borough Market, where it was incredibly crowded.
Yeah.
Which is typical for us Saturday, Sunday.
Yes.
Which was it was hot as well, so it was a bit over the top. But and then having that stroll across, we actually walked across the Millennium Bridge and then over past St. Paul's up to Postman's Park, and then then we got a bus to Covent Garden. But that was really nice after the hectic craziness of Borough Market to go and have something a bit quieter. So, if you want to go somewhere like St. Dunstan's in the east, where a lot of people want to go and have a photo because it is beautiful, then go at the weekend because it'll be quieter in terms of you're not going to get all the people in the City of London going and have the sandwiches on the benches.
That's true.
Which they do enjoy.
Or photo shoots.
Yeah. Other thing I just mentioned about eating on a Sunday as well is that if you want to have a Sunday roast in London, make sure that you book it.
Yeah, because they are popular. It's very British.
And a lot of places will stop. The kitchens are closed earlier, or meals will get sold out. For example, a Sunday roast will get sold out.
Yeah, I mean, some places do have a second sitting, like tea time, evening time, but not all. Can't count on it.
Yeah, it's just to check. I think the main thing is that it's to check what you're going to do. Like, say, if you're thinking, oh, the Sunday I'm going to spend the whole day shopping, well, probably not, because it's restricted hours, so you're not going to be able to, you can go browse and then buy all the things that you want.
Yeah.
But just check what things are closed and opening times and stuff like that.
That's right, yeah.
For Sundays. Just, so you know what you're doing. And things like, Westminster Abbey and St. Paul's, they have, the working churches, so there'll
be worship times as well. Yeah,
exactly. So it's just making sure that you check that out.
That's right.
But Sundays are lovely times to have a walk through the parks, go and see some of the gardens.
That's right. Yeah.
Museums. Yeah, just having I love just wandering around on a Sunday in London. And obviously you've got the markets as well you can go to.
Yeah.
Tip number 11 I want to just talk about, because tipping, actually, that works. Tipping comes up a lot. We're asked about tipping. I think we talked about it in the previous
It can make some people uncomfortable at this part. Yeah.
Mainly British people, because we're funny about tipping. We're funny about money. We're funny about
we don't like to talk about money.
No. Now, and I've noticed, I've been double checking this because I've been asked about this all the time, is basically, I haven't been to a London restaurant this time that hasn't added on a service charge. Generally about 12.5%. It will be added onto the bill. And if you want, you can ask them to remove that. It's an optional. It's not an absolute have to. And that's your tip.
Yeah.
So if you want, you could take the 12.5% service charge off, and then you could tip your waiter or waitress separately if you wanted to.
If you're carrying cash.
Yeah, but I guess that would be the argument for if you do have cash. But do check, because otherwise you could get charged for the service charge, and then if you tip on top, then you've tipped twice.
So they wouldn't tell you. The likelihood is they would not tell you it had been added on. You'd have to see on the machine that it's there. Yeah.
Yeah. But you need to just check if it's a discretionary service charge.
Or not, yeah.
And, if that's something that you can take off if they've added it on. Obviously, I guess sometimes it's not a discretionary charge, that they just have added that on. And sometimes they make that clear on the menu, saying, a service charge of 12.5% will be added on. Yeah. It's just checking if that's discretionary.
If in doubt, you can always ask.
Well, I know. Actually, I was out with Terry and Melissa. We went out we went out Sunday a few weeks ago, and
Terry's friend.
Yeah, Terry asked for the 12.5% to be taken off. It was discretionary. Yeah, she removed that. I'm sure she did. Yeah, I'm fairly sure she did. So you can then add on what you want. It's up to you. So obviously we talked about if you're in a pub. You don't tip.
It's not expected.
No, you don't tip because you'll be ordering at the bar.
Yeah.
And again, taxis, you can just round it up. That's what I do. But again, tipping is one of those ones. And there's a bit of a funny thing where people will say, or, you don't have to tip at all. Or people go, yes, you have to tip. And then some British people say no. Some British people say yes.
Yeah.
Some people get really angry about the whole thing of tipping. Some people just feel uncomfortable when they don't tip. And we understand that it can be a bit of you can feel, depending on the tipping culture from where you come from.
Just going to say that, yeah. You notice the differences when you're on a tour, the people from different places as to
who will tip,
Yeah, at the end, yeah.
Well, I will always say that even though we're British, we really appreciate if you would like to tip us for any any of our advice or help that we've given you.
Yeah.
It's always
uncomfortable for us to talk about, but we do appreciate it.
I've got less uncomfortable about talking about it, to be perfectly honest. Yes. So I'm very happy to take a tip. I'm very happy to take, if you don't want to tip and you feel like you'd want to sponsor the podcast instead, you can sponsor us if you would like to say thank you. Yeah. If you just want to say thank you, you can, verbally, you can leave it via SpeakPipe and go, thank you, Tracy and Doug, for all your wonderful podcast. You can do what you want, but I've got less uncomfortable talking about tipping.
Less British.
They're less British about talking about tipping. But again, I also don't judge. So if you want to tip. If you don't want to tip, don't tip. It's up to you. People have expectations, and when I talk to people in London, they know that some countries will tip more than others.
True.
But again, they're not going to not going to judge you on it. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the pronunciation. This is such a funny one. I had to talk about this. and this is no way criticising anybody. I'm going to say this is no way meant to cause any. I'm not criticising anybody for mispronunciation because I can mispronounce it.
And I know
I probably mispronunciated mispronunciation.
Yeah, I can't say that. But yeah, even as British people, we go down to London and we get it wrong.
Oh, I have to say, the one that confuses me the most is Marylebone or Marylebone.
Every single time I say this word, I mean, I've gone in and out to Marylebone Station many, many, many times, and I'm on this trip as well. And I can guarantee, if anybody's listened to any of my YouTube videos, and if I ever mention the word, you'll think, why is Doug saying that same station different every single time he says it? It's because Doug gets it wrong. Because Doug doesn't know.
I think Londoners disagree about how you pronounce Marylebone.
I think so too.
So it's spelled M-A-R, like Mary, and L-E, and then bone.
Yeah.
So Marylebone, Marylebone, any of those, right? So that's what I'm starting with, because I just generally, if you're a Londoner, like born and bred Londoner, and you're 100% sure how to pronounce that, please get back onto us and let us know, because I just guess all the time. Since I was a kid, that one's always been like, how do you pronounce that?
Well, when I was working on the railway, it was mispronounced.
Right.
So,
Now, these next ones we do pronounce correctly.
Okay.
Right.
Here we
So
go.
next one, Leicester Square.
That's Leicester Square.
Right. Leicester, not Leicester.
Leicester.
Which I have to say, we hear more from Australians than anything else.
Because it has a different meaning as well, doesn't it?
Does it?
Yeah.
No, that's Manchester you're thinking
Manchester,
about.
Leicester, yeah.
No, Manchester's got a different meaning in Australia. It means like bedding.
Is it?
Yeah. I don't think Leicester has a different meaning.
I think there is.
Is it? Oh, I didn't know
If
that.
any of us is listening, to pop that out to us, leave us a message. Either correct me or back me up. I'd rather you back me up, but if you want to criticise.
Right, so Leicester Square, not Leicester, Leicester Square. You know what? We should do this on Instagram. This would be funny.
Yeah.
Right, next one is Greenwich. Right, so that's spelled Greenwich. So it's not Greenwich.
Not Greenwich.
It's Greenwich.
Yeah.
The next one is Southwark.
Southwark, yeah. We agree on these ones.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Well, we know these are correct. So, and it's spelled Southwark, W-A-R-K, and it's actually Southwark.
Yes.
Right. So that's that one. Another one, and I pronounce this one wrong as well occasionally. It's Holborn. So Holborn. Yeah. It's actually Holborn.
Yeah, I say Holborn.
Yeah, you say that one correctly, but this is the one that says St Pancras. So
you won't be the first on that.
And
either.
Houston.
Houston. Yes.
Though I actually should bring these up because the train stations. I used to say St Pancras for ages.
I know.
It's obviously St
Pancras.
Pancras.
One not on your list is the one just outside London is Slough, which is a difficult one because if there's any nurses listening, the word is spelled slough, and we all know what slough is if you're a nurse.
I don't know what slough is. I don't want to know. Does it sound nice?
No.
Slough. So yeah. So Holborn is actually Holborn.
Yeah.
It's spelled Holburn. Then another one is Tottenham Court Road or Tottenham.
Tottenham. Yeah.
Tottenham, not Tottenham.
Not Tottenham, yeah.
Which is how when you say it, you would see it, you'd want to say Tottenham.
Anybody who supports any English football, they'll know that Tottenham is how you say that.
So if you've listened, you know what, I think I should put the list in the show notes. I'd love you guys to get in touch and say how you would pronounce these places.
It's many more than that. I mean, that's just a selection. There's so many more.
I honestly think we should do a series on YouTube or Instagram on this because it'd be.
But there's no guarantees because neither of us are from London, so there's no guarantees that we actually say everything right.
Well, we'll say those ones right. Just Marylebone, I'm not sure about.
No, I don't get that one right.
And again, it's like different accents across the UK as well. So.
Well, that's right. Yes.
Best things to ask a Londoner. They'll be able to tell you how to pronounce it. Yeah. But I mean, we're sure about Leicester Square, sure about Greenwich, Southwark, Holborn, and Tottenham Court Road.
Just Marylebone.
Just Marylebone is a bit of an interesting one. Marylebone.
One of them.
Something like that. Anyway, so those were really the kind of things we wanted to go through in this episode.
Yes.
We hope that we've had a bit of fun.
As always.
We hope that you've enjoyed it and that you've kind of got some useful information for your London trip.
Yeah.
We've had some great stories shared in the Facebook group as well. So if you're in a Facebook group, come and give us some ideas of things that confused you when you arrived in London.
Oh, there must be dozens more topics we could find and cover.
Oh, you know something? It's not confusion, but the thing they get is looking the right way when you're crossing the street. Because it depends on which country you come from, whichever side of the road you drive on.
That is true.
And we've had that in other countries when it's a different way of driving on the road. I mean, some countries they seem to drive on both sides. Doesn't seem to matter.
They say drive whichever way you want. Yeah.
But so again, I'll say if you want to listen to something similar to this episode, but specific about the UK, then episode 198 is the one to listen to. So I will link to London Travel Planner, link to some of those articles. I'll link to the Walks and Devour VIP closing ceremony of the Tower of London. Also link to some of those walking tours for the changing of the guard. What else did I say I was going to mention? Oh, Discover Real London Black Cab Tours. I'll also link to that. Otherwise, I think that was quite an interesting, a fun episode to do, Doug.
Most definitely. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. So we're going to sign off, as always. And as I say, if you'd like to give us a tip or if you'd like to support the work that we do every week, then there is a tip your guide button on the website. And also a way that if you'd like to sponsor the podcast, you can do that from as little as $3 a month.
Yes, and thank you to the ones that already do.
Yes, thank you very, very much. Huge shout out to those of you who support us. We really, really appreciate it. Anyway, that is all for this week, and I'm going to sign off, and Doug too. And until next week, happy UK travel planning. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the UK Travel Planning Podcast. As always, show notes can be found at uktravelplanning.com. If you've enjoyed the show, why not leave us feedback via text or a review on your favourite podcast app? We love to hear from you, and you never know, you may receive a shout out in a future episode. But as always, that just leaves me to say, until next week, happy UK travel planning.